Hello and welcome to Hammers Chat's Premier League preview in conjunction with Football Index, the betting app that allows you to bet on things you know. Footballers, as their value increases, you bet on it rather than some sort of scrawny old nag or greyhound that you know nothing about. Geo's doing well on it at the moment, as you can see from his new jumper, spending the riches. But we're going to talk about all the fixtures in the Premier League, in which is, I believe, game week 19. Geo, we've just done the review, haven't we? Sorry, the preview from the Southampton game, which West Ham are playing, so we won't be discussing that. You tell me first, mate. Anyone sticking out for you in particular in this upcoming packed fixture Boxing Day list, really?
I don't know. There's a few that's hard to call. I think Burnley v Everton is quite hard to call, given the form of the side from Liverpool, if you like. And then I think Brighton Arsenal might be more difficult than some people are expecting.
Yeah, well, for those of you who don't know, the fixture list is as follows. So the early kickoff on Boxing Day, as you're all sort of waking up and chilling out with your fat tummies full of stuffing and turkey. We've got Fulham against Wolves, the early kickoff. Then we've got Crystal Palace against Cardiff. Leicester versus Manchester City, which I think is very interesting. Liverpool against Newcastle. Resurgent Manchester United against a pretty down in the dumps Huddersfield. Tottenham Hotspur against Bournemouth. Brighton have Albion Arsenal. And then the following day, which on the Thursday, on the 27th, you've got Watford against Chelsea. And then the evening game is Southampton against West Ham, which we have just previewed. Now, if you click in the link below or you wait to the end of this video, that should take you straight to that video. So we won't be discussing that one. Okay, well, you know what, Gio? You mentioned it. So it was the first one you mentioned, which was the Burnley game. And I mean, I think that's very, very interesting here. So we've got Burnley against Everton. And Burnley are basically, they'll be trying to avoid 3 straight defeats. But Everton, you wouldn't think it, bearing in mind all the money that they've spent, are on a run, I think, of 5 Premier League games without a victory.
Yeah, and Everton are off the back of a 6-2 hiding from Spurs as well, which is, you know, they got taken apart. Spurs made them look silly, in all honesty. And I think Burnley were actually hard done by at Arsenal. They got beat 3-1. The goal was in the 91st minute. But they had a couple of shouts that were maybe penalties. And Lichtsteiner was sort of, I wouldn't say lost his head, but he was up to silly antics a little bit. European antics, perhaps you could maybe say. He was bringing his Serie A thing with him to the Premier League, and he got off with it. And I think Sean Dyche was right to feel hard done by at Emirates, actually. And I don't think the 3-1 scoreline reflected the game. So I just think this game, given that both sides, one's coming off the back of sort of, we should have got something there, and one's just had their bums spanked in front of millions of people watching live on TV, if you like. I think we've got an interesting concept here, because I think on a normal day I would be backing Everton, but given the form and the surrounding circumstances, I can't back Everton on this one. Goes on paper, it should be an away win, but football's not played in paper.
So what are you going for? Draw?
I'm going for a draw, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's easy for me because actually, unlike me, I've done an ACCA for this round of fixtures, and I did actually put this down to draw before I'd even looked at it in too much detail. It just had that vibe about it. I don't ever feel confident about Everton at the moment. I think there's been much hullabaloo. There's been a lot of fanfare surrounding all the money and surrounding the new manager, Silva, coming in, but it just doesn't seem to be happening. So I'm going to match you on that one, mate. We'll just go back in time, if I may, because the early kickoff, as I said, we've got Fulham against Wolves. Now, Fulham are aiming to win their first, I believe, in 6 Premier League matches. Wolves will be looking to bounce back following their defeat against Liverpool, where they didn't play too bad. I thought they just lacked a bit of a cutting edge there, Gio.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought they looked okay against Liverpool, and the tactics worked in the sense that they will hit them with pace. The problem with Traore, he just doesn't have the ability to take the shots, if you like. He was breaking free, he was getting a bit of space, but he just didn't really have the what was required. And then on the other hand, Fulham went up to St James's Park, and it's a difficult one to look at, actually. 0-0 away to Newcastle. If you're down the bottom, it's probably not a great result. You could say it was 2 points lost, but at the same time, it's not a bad result. A point away from home in the Premier League is a good point, regardless of who it is, really. So it's a funny fixture, but they've got a clean sheet, which is good for a team that were leaking 3 goals a game or something prior to Ranieri coming in. I won't be I will. That's a lie. I was going to say I'm not going to tune into this game. I will tune into it, but I'm not anticipating a lot of action in front of my eyes, believe it or not.
No, I think it's. I want to predict that Wolves are going to win, but I do feel that there's the imponderable bit, which is the fixture congestion over the Christmas schedule. Now, that's sometimes sort of it creates funny results, and it's because of fatigue, it's because of the fixture congestion, it's because of injuries creep in. It's very, very hard to maintain any consistency over this period. In fact, it's to be argued that, particularly for the bigger teams as well, if you can maintain your consistency through the late part of December and early January before the European stuff's kicked in, a lot of damage can be done in the league, and a lot of credit can be made in the league as well. So I've got a feeling, whilst I fancy Wolves, I might well go for the draw in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. It's a 12:30 game on Boxing Day as well. I think that's relevant. Martin Noble, because we're West Ham fans, Martin Noble did an interview and he was saying he hates early kickoffs on a Saturday stuff. He says it's weird. You can't get going. He says you're trying to have pasta and chicken at like 9 a.m. and something. It's not right. But can you imagine trying to do that on Boxing Day of all days as well? Your Wolves will be away from their families for the Christmas Day night. Fulham might well be in a hotel as well, but it's a bit different for Wolves. So I'm going to go for a draw, and I just don't think this must be one of the worst kickoffs in the Premier League throughout a whole season. 12:30 on Boxing Day.
That's a great point, mate. That is a great point, because stuff like that is what I'm talking about. That has an impact over Christmas. At what time do they leave their families? You say they're probably coming down the coach. They may even be leaving their families on Christmas Day, going to spend it in a hotel with the rest of their teammates, which you wouldn't really want to do, would you? Let's be honest. Right, moving on. We got Crystal Palace versus Cardiff. They're aiming to build on an epic victory against Manchester City. Crystal Palace there. Cardiff got absolutely thumped by Manchester United, who we'll speak about later. Cardiff's form has been at home. They're away from home. Crystal Palace win for this one, Gio?
Just edge. I mean, I almost want to say the weekend results were 2 freak results in a way. They were both one-off scenarios. Man City losing at home doesn't happen very often, so Palace did well to be the team that does that. And then Cardiff have been doing well at home, but also Man U have been crap all season. And they happen to get them when they turn up in a good mood. You could say Cardiff were just unlucky as well. But I'm going to go for a home win purely because they should be buzzing. Palace should be absolutely bouncing off the walls after that victory. And that's that type of thing. We did this last time. We were saying, how are Palace going to score? They just went and did 3 at the Etihad. One of them was a worldie. Townsend can try that 100 times and not hit the target in half of them, never mind score it. But on the other hand, they've now won 3 in their last 5 games, Palace, so they're looking all right. So I'm going to say a home win, but I'll tell you what, I think there'll be goals at Selhurst Park. The 3 p.m. games on Saturday, this is probably the one I'm going to... I keep saying Saturday. It's not Saturday. This is probably the one I'm going to tune into.
Yeah, and on terms of the old football index, of course, Wan-Bissaka, he got rave reviews, and he looked really good. I thought he looked good against us, particularly in the first half when West Ham played him. Is that worth, or is it too late? Have we missed the boat on that one?
We have missed the boat on Wan-Bissaka, unfortunately, but he's one of those players I would consider a banker. You invest in him now, just keep him for a couple of years. His price will go up just because he is that good.
Yes, it's just going to take a long time to go up. You want to get in there early, like you did with Queener, don't you, and get that initial, that early boost. Right, okay. So next on, you got Leicester against Manchester City. Now Leicester won at Chelsea. They've only suffered 2 defeats in their last 9 matches. Manchester City obviously lost to Crystal Palace, who we just discussed. They find themselves, as we record this, I believe it's 4 points behind Liverpool as well, and with I think possibly Tottenham breathing down their necks. I think this is maybe tougher to call than you might initially think, Gio.
I'm not so sure. I'm on the other side, actually. I would not want to play Man City after they just got beat. Talk about a wounded animal. That's what City will be. They're going to come out ramped right up. Their effort will almost go through the roof as well, if you like. And I would be scared if I was a Leicester fan as to who you're going to face, because a lot of teams get beat, their confidence gets knocked, etc. I don't think that's the case with City. I think if you beat them, the next game they just come out more guns blazing. If Pep Guardiola, who likes to rotate, if he was thinking about rotating for this one, I think he just scrapped them plans completely. I think we're going to see his cup final 11 against Leicester, and that could prove trouble. Yes, Leicester have done well in the last few games, but lost 2-9 and something. But I think they've only won 3 in 11. So it's sort of like, what way do you want to look at it a little bit? They went 3 without winning before the Stamford Bridge result. Is that a freak result? They fair play to them. They got it. I'm siding with City for this one, Gonzo.
Yeah, well, my boy Pereira had a very good game, as didn't go unnoticed by myself. Vardy wasn't even meant to play in that game, by the way, and obviously scored a good goal. So I'm still going to go with Man City, of course, but I do think it'll be tight. I think it might be a 2-1 or something like that. But I think the rest and rotation is crucial because Man City will have to do it at some point. But I think you might well be right. That possibly went onto the back bars. Oh dear, Freudian slipped in it. Hopefully there'll be none of that. I'll tell you what, Christmas spirit, that's stretching it and all. Next up, we've got Liverpool against Newcastle. Liverpool riding high. I mean, they just look, they've got their cutting edge. Salah is back to form. Newcastle are not doing too bad, though. Only 2 defeats in their last 9 matches, Gio.
They're not doing too great either, though, are they? I think they're not conceding much, which is fantastic, but only gets you so far. The one thing that Liverpool's impressed me with is the last couple of weeks I've been waiting for Liverpool to slip up. They've added consistency, something they haven't had previously. They've always had the quality, but they'd always just shoot themselves in the foot a little bit, and they've stopped doing that. I thought Wolves was a big test for them at Wolves, and while Wolves made a good game of it, I thought their goals, Liverpool's goals, just had that a little bit of, I don't want to say title winner quality to it, but they're certainly worthy of being right up there at this point. They deserve to be where they are. They deserve to be top of the league right now. But they can play poor, or Liverpool can play average for 85 minutes in a game, but in that 5 minutes they know how to win a game, and that's something that is very, very difficult to do. And they've added that to their side, and it worries me a little bit because I don't really want to see Liverpool win the title, in all honesty.
Well, I mean, Salah looks like the best player in the league at the moment, and it looks like they've got the best defender in the league as well, certainly. So that is definitely going to help them. As I say, be interested to see because Klopp will rotate at some point. And, is this the game that he brings Sturridge into, who's got a very, very good record against Newcastle? He could do something silly here. I think this is the time to keep the foot on the accelerator, I think, and I'll keep the pressure on Man City's throats, certainly. Next up, we have got Manchester United against Huddersfield. Now, you don't need me to give you any stats on this, really, because everybody saw what's happened. Everybody knows the story about Manchester United. They've lost Jose Mourinho. Solskjaer's come in. They won 5-1 against Cardiff, and quite embarrassingly, I must say, we've had some of my wife's friends and family have been over. One of them's a Manchester United fan, and I hadn't actually seen Match of the Day. But she came over, and she's a season ticket holder, and my son just put it on, and just before it came on, we were having a chat about football, and I said, I don't get the old Jesse Lingard. I'm not a huge fan. I don't get it. He does nothing for me. Watch the highlights, and of course he scored twice. They looked a different team, and they're going to be playing Huddersfield, Geo, who just looked total rubbish, really. Yeah,
but there's no pressure on Huddersfield for this one. This is like, I think Huddersfield have had a few 6-pointers recently, and I think like Southampton, they played Southampton the weekend, a 6-pointer, they got beat, etc. This game they can go into, I don't want to say relaxed, but if they get beat 3-0, so what? Who's going to be surprised? Nobody. There is zero pressure on Huddersfield going into this one. That can be dangerous. The only problem is they come up against the Man U side with their tails up. The fans will be a little bit happier, etc. And they've got talent, Man United. They've always had talent, but Mourinho's managed to throttle it a little bit, and Solskjaer seems to have now just actually said, "You know what? But great." I could be wrong in this. This is not the most reliable place I read it, but I believe Man U never scored 5 goals in a Premier League game since Fergie. I think Fergie was the last one. Van Gaal never did it. Moyes didn't do it. Mourinho didn't do it. And Solskjaer's done it in his first game. Now, while it is only one game, it does show that actually maybe there's a slight difference in mentality in the sense that we've scored 3, great, now go get a 4th one, now go get a 5th one. And if he brings that to Old Trafford and they get an early goal against Huddersfield, then it could be a long afternoon. But I'm going to give them the kiss of death because the last 3 weeks on this one, I said City last weekend was a banker. They got beat. Weekend before that, I said Spurs. It took them a 93rd minute winner. So here's a kiss of death for Man United fans. This is the banker of the weekend.
It certainly is. But what I found quite telling, it was Solskjaer in his interview afterwards. He said there was no point in trying to out-battle Cardiff. He said if they decided to take Cardiff on in a war, there was only going to be one winner. So they had to go out there and basically use their superior technique. And I thought about that. That's something Mourinho never would have done at all. So you could have seen, it wouldn't have been impossible to envisage Cardiff holding a Mourinho Manchester United, particularly one that was as low on confidence as it was, to a draw or something like that. So I certainly think there'll be a bit of an upturn, a bit of an uplift, and I do expect it to continue. Much like yourself. Sorry, I didn't say on the previous one. I just realised, obviously, Liverpool to win from myself. Did you say the same? Yeah, of course. Okay, next up, what have we got here? We've got we've got Tottenham against Bournemouth. Now, as you said, Geo, earlier on, they put 6 past Everton. I think Son got a couple, didn't he? Harry Kane got a couple. Was it Eric Serd and Dele Alli? They looked absolutely swashbuckling. I've got to say, really keeping the pressure up, particularly on Manchester City there, who are now not only looking above them, but Liverpool looking down below them at Tottenham as well. But they're playing Eddie Howe's Bournemouth. I think it was a young lad. Was it Brooks? Is that his name? He played very, very well. They got their first win. I think it was against Brighton. Bournemouth got their first win in a little while, Gio.
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth needed that. The last thing they needed to do was come into this game with another game without a victory, so it was important for them. But Spurs looked... That was one of the best performances I've seen from a team in the Premier League in a long, long time. I think I was more impressed by that Spurs win than I was by any Man City victory I've seen this season. They were that good. The passing was fantastic. The movement... you know, it pains you to say as a West Ham fan, but they were that good, and you just thought, you looked at them, you thought, bloody hell, you know, like, like how have they managed to do this? But this is what I said to you a couple of weeks ago. Spurs have been going under the radar. City and Liverpool have took the pressure off Spurs completely. I actually think now hitting Everton for 6 was almost like going to come back and bite them in the arse a small bit. I know that sounds silly, but if it finished 4-2, people would have just went, yeah, okay. But because it's 6, it's drawing attention a little bit. Now people are going to be looking at this and going, well, what are you going to do this time, Spurs? Are you going to score another 4 or whatever? And there's a lot more pressure on Spurs going into this one than there was the Goodison Park one. Kane's got a fantastic record against Bournemouth. He had a good one against Everton, got another brace. 4 games in a row now against Everton. He's scored 2. And I think he's got 6 and 5 against Bournemouth or something like that. So I'm going to say a Spurs win, but I don't think it's not going to be as straightforward as it was against Everton. Yeah,
well, one crumb of comfort for Bournemouth is that Dele Alli with a hamstring, he might well miss out. He came off half-time against Everton, but Bournemouth themselves are missing Lewis Cook, Adam Smith and Dan Gosling. Whether it matters or not, they've just such a good squad, Tottenham, haven't they? I'm going to have to go for a Tottenham win. Again, myself, mate. You know what I mean? It's right. That leaves us with oh no, we've got 2 more. Sorry, we've got Brighton Hove Albion against Arsenal. Brighton 3 straight league defeats. Arsenal have only lost 1 league game in the last 16. Obviously lost a cup game against Tottenham as well. Plain sailing for Arsenal, Gio?
No, I don't think it is. I think Brighton, there's 2 Brightons. There's a Brighton away from home, and they're quite poor. And then there's Brighton at home, who I think are quite good. And Arsenal, they played Southampton away last weekend, a week ago, and got beat 3-2 and stuff. That Arsenal turn up, I'm not convinced they'll win this one. And I think they were fortunate against Burnley. I do think they were fortunate. There was a little bit of lady luck on their side against that in terms of decisions. Brighton just need to keep their head, though. Another red card at the weekend. It's now, there's been 5 red cards in the last 7 games. Not all Brighton players. There's disciplinary at that club or in those matches and something. I don't get it. Dunk shouldn't have been sent off, though. The first yellow card was not a yellow card. He didn't touch the boy. The other Brighton player pushed him, and Mike Dean thought it was Dunk that tripped him up, so he got a wrong booking for it. But he's suspended for this one now, so he goes out, and Shane Duffy's back in, so they're still not got their first team defence there. But I just think the Amex Stadium is a very difficult one to go to, and I'm not sure Arsenal, Mustafi might be back for them, which is massive, but if he's not, it's a very patched up Arsenal defence, and I don't know. I think Brighton will create chances. I'm going to go for a draw, Gonzo.
Well, I'm going to go for the Arsenal away win, but I've got to say about the AMX Stadium, what lovely pies and lovely golden ale they've got down there. I tell you what, they look after you there, but the football's a bit crap generally, isn't it? Right, leading on to, as I say, we're not going to discuss Southampton against West Ham. We've done that in our preview, which I discussed earlier. That will be at the end of the show, the link for that. So that just leaves us with our other game, which is Thursday, the 27th of December. These Christmas fixtures might muck you up. So it's the day after Boxing Day. It's Thursday, the 27th, and it is Watford against Chelsea. Now, as we painfully know, Watford can go 4 Premier League matches unbeaten, and Chelsea will be looking to bounce back against that defeat where they lost to Leicester City, Gio.
Interesting game, this one. I find this one difficult to call, actually, because Chelsea, while you might think it's a fluke, they got beat by someone a couple of weeks ago, Chelsea. I can't remember who it was. They lost away to, was it Brighton? No. Chelsea lost to a side similar to a stature to Watford a couple of games ago as well. So this wasn't like a one-off. It's almost like they're struggling to score goals at the minute, Chelsea. Morata and Giroud are just not firing, really. It's all very well Giroud banging a free kick against a club in a country that's got more consonants than vowels in its name, for example. But that's all very well and good. But you need to do it in the Premier League. They're not doing that. And like I said to you, I just find Hazard inconsistent. And he didn't show up against Leicester again. Watford, as we just watched them, I thought they did all right. There's goals in them, and I just think they're going to cause Chelsea a bit of a tough game this one.
Absolutely, and it was Wolves at the start of the month who they lost 2-1 to. So it's quite funny. You look at the way Abramovich deals with it, and it doesn't matter how much he spends on managers. Whoever comes in is on borrowed time. And when they decided to ditch Conte, this was not what they would have been expected. Having said that, I think he's looking to bring in some of his own players. Whether they'll do that in January, I don't know. It'll be too early for this one. But as we know, because we've just played them, Watford are awkward, very, very awkward. That being said, I'm not sure that Chelsea will be bullied as easily as West Ham will, and they've got some real competitors in there. So I don't know whether he'll play Rudiger. I'd imagine he will play Kante, albeit not in his preferred position. I do believe that if he decides to play Morata or somebody like that, they have people with a physicality that can certainly cause Watford some bother. And West Ham created plenty of chances against Watford. So I've got to go here for the away win, the Chelsea win. We discussed earlier on about what happens in the Christmas period. Well, do you know what? Chelsea to Watford, it is not a huge journey. So it's not going to be hugely upsetting for them and their Christmas schedule. So, yeah, a Chelsea away win for me, Gio.
I'm going to go for a draw. I'll tell you what, you're talking about the physical game. I think this is important. The referee's Martin Atkinson. I always think he's the one referee in the league that allows the game to be physical. He allows the argy-bargy. And I always think if Martin Atkinson's playing in West Ham, have got him in charge, I like to see Andy Carroll play because he allows Carroll to go up against the defender. This game, and this referee is made for players like Troy Deeney. It absolutely is. And I just think this fixture usually contains goals, and I think we're going to see plenty of goals at Vicarage Road. I'm looking forward to watching this one, actually, but I'm going to say a draw, Gonzo.
Yeah, okay, well, there you go, and that wraps up our fixture schedule. Now, it's mainly Boxing Day, isn't it? There's two afterwards, but what we've definitely got, no football at all on Christmas Day. So I do wish you all, and we certainly all do, Hammers Chat, wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. If you are completely bored and you're missing your little fix of football, we've got a video going up on the main channel. We've not even titled it yet. It's a Christmas special. It's myself, Geo, and a few of the other guys from Hammers Chat, and we're just basically having a chat in Asper's Casino, and Geo's made a little Q&A up. It's just a little bit of fun to get us into the festive spirit, to get us through Christmas Day and onto those Boxing Day fixtures. Geo, Merry Christmas to you, mate. Anything you wanted to say, my friend?
No, that's all good. If you're looking for someone to invest in on Football Index in the next couple of weeks, I'd be taking a look at the Southampton striker, Michael Obafembi, the young 18-year-old that scored against Huddersfield. I'd be checking him out and getting on him before his price goes up a little bit more. Absolutely. And that coming from a man who, if he could, would invest in 10 Danny Ingses. Thanks for joining us, and a Merry Christmas.